John woke under a pale sky that smelled of dust and metal. He lay on jagged ground, his leg weak beneath him. He had crossed 3 canyons to reach this hidden place. He could feel the heat rising off the stones. He touched the pendant around his neck and remembered his colony dying back on Earth. Today he hoped to find the power to save them. He stood slowly and pulled his coat tight against the chill wind. His pack was heavy but full of supplies. He checked his map and saw the faint glow of the relic on the display. It had led him far into the forbidden territory of the Huntress. He did not know her name. He only knew her skill with a blade. Far above, cliffs rose like broken teeth. John stared up at the worn carvings on the rock walls. They were ancient words of a long-lost race. The relic he carried pulsed in his hand, guiding him deeper into a narrow canyon. The path twisted and turned like a serpent winding through red stone. Suddenly he heard a soft crunch behind him. He froze and reached for his knife. His heart pounded in his chest. From the shadows stepped a tall figure in strange armor. She held a curved blade that shone cold under the sun. Her eyes were dark and sharp. He knew she was the Huntress. She spoke in a low voice. "Why have you come here? This land is sacred. No one is allowed to take what lies within." John raised his hand slowly. He kept his voice calm. "I have come for help. My people face extinction. I need the power of the relic to save them." She looked at his pendant and laughed softly. Her laughter echoed off the stone walls. John swallowed. He had hoped she might understand his cause. Instead, she raised her sword and placed its tip against his throat. The touch was firm. He felt the cold steel at his skin. "Any last words?" she asked, her voice hard as steel. John closed his eyes for a moment and thought of his home. He thought of children who ran from dust storms, of farmers and doctors waiting for a miracle. He opened his eyes and smiled faintly. "Yeah," he said, "your grip is too weak." Her brow furrowed in surprise. He felt the blade shift ever so slightly. He saw her fingers loosen around the hilt. In that moment of hesitation, he hoped to live another day. Emma's eyes narrowed as she lowered the sword tip. John noticed her armor plates clink softly. He kept his hands open and still. The relic in his pack pulsed quietly, as if it watched too. Emma studied John's calm face. She saw no fear or anger. She saw only resolve. She tightened her grip for a moment, then relaxed. She turned away and stared down the canyon path. John waited. The wind whistled over the stones. Dust drifted through the air. He spoke gently. "I did not mean disrespect," he said. His voice was soft. "I know this land is sacred. I know it belongs to you and your people." Emma's shoulders shook. She looked at him again. "You dare come here after they warned you," she said. Her voice held pain beneath the anger. "They told you the Huntress spares no one." John nodded. He stepped closer, so his voice would carry. "They sent me with gifts and warnings. I chose to come anyway. I had to try. I carry hope for my colony. They face dying winds and empty soil. I cannot watch them perish." Emma turned, her sword still ready. She asked, "Why should I trust your words? You speak of saving people who kill for land and water. You have sent armies to our world before." John swallowed. He looked down at the stone floor. He remembered blasts from fallen ships, families torn apart. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, his voice was firm. "I am not my father's. I carry no army. I come alone with this relic. It chose me." Emma studied the pendant at his neck. She recognized its shape. It matched legends from her people's songs. She said, "That relic holds power we barely understand. It can heal and destroy without warning." John nodded. "I know its risk. I promise I will not use it to harm your world. I seek only enough energy to give my people new life." Emma held her sword lower now. She paced back and forth. Her boots scraped the stones. Dust whispered beneath her feet. She stopped and faced him. "I will spare you," she said slowly. "But you must answer my questions. And you must tell me how you plan to use that power. If I doubt you, I will end you." John bowed his head slightly. He spoke clearly. "I will answer every question. I will show you the plans and calculations. I will let you inspect every detail. I need only enough to restore water and soil to Earth. I do not seek weapons. Emma stared at him, her eyes dark as obsidian. She stepped closer. John could feel the warmth from her armor. Behind them, a distant rumble sounded. Rocks tumbled down. The canyon roof. Both looked up. Far above, warriors in dark armor stood on cliff edges. They raised weapons that gleamed under the pale sky. Emma cursed. She lifted John's arm and pushed him behind her. She raised her blade and called out in her own tongue. John recognized none of the words but heard urgency. The warriors began to climb down narrow paths. Their blades were long and wicked. They came in small groups, cautious but determined. Emma whispered to John, "They are my rivals. They hate me for sparing you. They will kill us both." John nodded and stepped forward next to Emma. He reached for his knife. She gave him a brief nod and returned her focus to the path above. Rocks shifted overhead. A loose piece broke free and fell. Emma lunged aside. John acted without thought. He raised his arm and caught the rock before it hit Emma. He felt its weight in his palm and tossed it safely aside. Emma looked at him with respect. She said, "You are braver than I thought. Now stay close, follow my lead." They moved together as the first rival warrior stepped onto a ledge. Emma struck first, her blade moving with speed and grace. The warrior blocked and swung. Emma twisted and ducked under the blow. John stayed behind her. He watched her form. She fought without hesitation. He moved forward when an enemy aimed at her back. He knocked the warrior's arm aside and plunged his knife forward. The man fell. Emma called back to him, "Good! Now drop your pack and draw your weapon." John obeyed. He set the heavy pack on the ground. He pulled his pistol from a holster. He aimed at the next warrior. The relic's glow brightened in his pack. As if impatient, 2 more warriors charged. Emma kicked one aside and slashed at the other. John fired a shot that hit a belt buckle. The man's armor bent and he stumbled. Emma moved in and finished him with a swift strike. John felt his heart racing. Fear and excitement mixed in his chest. Emma saw his face. She shouted, "Focus! They are not robots, they bleed." John steadied his aim. He fired again, this time disabling a weapon. The warrior dropped his blade. More warriors were coming. John and Emma backpedaled toward the relic's glow deeper in the canyon. Emma said, "We will fall back to a safer spot. I know a cave where we can plan." John nodded. They ran together, moving over rocky ground. The warriors followed, their shouts echoing. They reached a narrow ledge. Emma held her hand up. She signaled for John to wait. She touched a hidden switch on the canyon wall. A panel slid aside, revealing a dark passage. Emma whispered, "This is the cave. No one but my people knows of this entrance." "Follow me." John entered the cool darkness. The relic's glow dimmed here. He breathed deeply. The air smelled of wet stone. Emma brought her blade to the wall and tapped twice. The wall sealed behind them. Inside, torches lit up. The cave opened into a large chamber. Water dripped from stalactites. Emma lowered her sword. John set his weapon aside. He picked up his pack. Emma said, "We have a moment. Answer me. How do you intend to reach the power source?" "I need details." John smiled. He sat on a stone bench. He opened his pack and pulled out HOLO sheets. Emma approached and watched as he laid them on a flat rock. Bright holograms rose into the air. John pointed to a distant star system. He explained, "The relic's map shows an ancient engine below." "Yes, we must travel through tunnels." "The map marks traps and guardians?" "We can avoid them." Emma watched the hollow lines. She tapped one and made it turn red. She said, "These traps can kill without warning. They are old defenses." John nodded. "I have the codes from old translators. I think we can bypass them safely. If we work together." Emma stood silent for a moment. She then nodded. She said, "Very well, I will guide you. But if you break your promise, I will end you and bury the relic." John nodded in return. He looked at her with gratitude. Outside, the rival warriors shouted in anger. Emma moved to block the cave entrance. John called out, "We'll need to move soon. They will find us here." Emma raised her blade. She said, "I will hold them off." "Get ready to depart." John gathered the holosheets. He strapped them to his arm. He picked up his pack. Emma took position at the cave mouth. She watched the rocky corridor. John breathed in deep. He felt fear, but also hope. He whispered, "Thank you." Emma did not reply. She focused on the shadows. John turned back to the relic. It pulsed once more. He whispered, "Let us save our people." Emerald light shone from the relic as John and Emma moved through the hidden tunnel. The air felt damp and cold. Rocks under their boots crunched softly. John held his lamp high. Shadows danced on rough walls. Emma led the way. She stepped carefully around spikes that jutted from the stone. John followed, trusting her every move. He remembered her fierce look when she held the sword to his throat. Now he saw a different side. Her eyes held caution and strength. John spoke quietly. "How did you become Huntress?" Emma paused. She turned and looked at him. "My people chose me. I was training when I saw outsiders steal our water crystals. I fought them off. They said I was too young, too weak, but I beat them. They named me Huntress. I protect because I must." John nodded. He understood the weight of duty. He said, "I lost my sister to the dust storms. She was young, full of life. I could not save her. I carry this guilt." Emma glanced at him with sympathy. She said, "We all have losses. They shape us." They reached a fork in the tunnel. The relic pulsed brighter toward the right path. Emma took that path. John followed. Tunnel opened into a wide chamber. Broken statues stood around a shallow pool. Water trickled from a crack in the wall. The relic glowed stronger. Emma examined the statues. They were worn but showed figures kneeling before a great machine. She whispered, "This is a temple once used to charge the relic." John stepped to the pool. He knelt and dipped his hand into the cold water. The relic's glow spread through his body. He felt warmth where there was none. Suddenly the ground shook. Stones fell around them. Emma pulled John back. From the shadows emerged two large reptile-like guardians. Their scales glinted. Their eyes glowed red. They hissed. Emma drew her sword. She called out, "Stand back." John raised his lamp. He read the holocodes on his arm. He aimed and pressed a button. Beams of light shot from his device. One hit a guardian's eye. The creature roared and fell. Emma moved in and struck the second guardian's leg. The creature collapsed with a loud thud. It lay still. John panted. Emma sheathed her sword. She said, "You learn quickly." John smiled softly. He said, "I had good teacher." They moved to the center of the chamber. The relic pulsed strongly now. A beam of moonlight shone through a crack above, landing on a pedestal. Emma studied the pedestal. She said, "This must be where we recharge the relic." John placed the relic on the stone platform. The glowing red gem fit into a carved slot. The light grew intense. On the walls, ancient scripts appeared in glowing letters. The relic scanned them, then quieted. Emma, read aloud, "To awaken the engine, seek the three keys of truth, courage, sacrifice, and unity. Only then shall power flow." She looked at John. "We must find these keys." John frowned. "Where are they?" Emma pointed to 3 corridors branching from the chamber. Each was marked with a symbol, a lion, a flame, and 2 hands claspind. Emma said, "We will take them one by one." "Which do you choose first?" John thought. He said, "Courage first. I need to prove myself." Emma nodded. They entered the corridor with the lion symbol. The tunnel narrowed. Soon they reached a pit too wide to jump. The walls were smooth and slick. Water dripped from above. Emma examined the pit. She said, "The test of courage. One must cross without fear." John looked at the gap. Moss covered the edges. He swallowed and stepped forward. Emma watched. She wondered if he would dare. John took a deep breath. He ran and leaped. The gap was wider than it looked. His feet barely found purchase. He grabbed a crack in the stone wall and pulled himself across. He landed on the other side, panting. Emma smiled. She jumped easily after him. John said, "I did it." Emma placed a small brass key on the pedestal by the relic. The relic pulsed and accepted it. Emma said, "One down, two to go." They returned to the main chamber. The second corridor glowed faintly. The flame symbol marked its entrance. They entered. Heat rose immediately. The air was hot and dry. Flames licked along the walls. John shielded his face. Emma held up a cloth to cover her mouth. Ahead, a row of floating platforms hovered over a sea of fire. The platforms glowed red. They moved in a pattern. Emma said, "The test of sacrifice. We must cross together and give something to pass." John nodded. They stepped onto the first platform. It held steady. They jumped to the next. The platforms shook under their weight. Halfway across, the relic on John's belt pulsed fiercely. The platform beneath them trembled and cracked. Emma grabbed John's hand. She pulled him forward to a stable platform. A piece of his coat had caught fire and burned away. John yanked off the singed cloth. He said, "My coat." "It was a gift from my sister," Emma said, "a sacrifice to save us both." John placed the second key, shaped like a flame, on the pedestal. The relic glowed warmly. Only one test remained. They returned. The corridor with the clasped hands beckoned. Inside they found a simple door with no handle. Between them stood a gap too narrow to step over while holding the relic. Emma said, "Unity. We must trust each other completely." John nodded. He placed his hand on Emma's shoulder. She did the same. They closed their eyes. The door slid open. Inside was the final key, a silver token engraved with two hands. John picked it up. Emma placed her hand over his. They both carried it to the pedestal. The relic accepted it. Light burst from its gem. A low rumble shook the chamber. Dust fell from above. A hidden door opened, revealing a passage downward. Emma and John exchanged a look. He smiled gently. She nodded. Together, they stepped into the final path toward the ancient engine. Outside, rival warriors prepared to breach the cave, but Emma's people stood on nearby cliffs, ready to defend. Inside, John and Emma walked side by side. Their quest continued, bound by courage, sacrifice, and unity. John and Emma left the cave chamber and descended deeper into the ancient tunnels. The walls were rough, lit by John's lamp. Water dripped in steady drops. The relic pulsed softly in John's pack, guiding them. Emma led the way carefully. She watched every step. John followed, carrying the holomap. He checked the path ahead and looked back at Emma. He spoke quietly. "I never knew your people built such vast tunnels." Emma replied, "These tunnels date back before history. They harnessed energy from the planet's core." John nodded. He felt a mix of awe and caution. He said, "We must be close to the engine." Now, the corridor opened into a large chamber. At its center lay a circular pit with glowing runes around the edge. Stairs led down into the darkness. Emma studied the runes. She said, "This is the heart chamber. The engine is below. But the pit is protected by barriers. We must find a way to lower them." John moved closer and looked at the runes. He touched a symbol. The runes glowed brighter. He said, "These symbols match the keys we placed on the pedestal." "Perhaps each key lowers a barrier." Emma nodded. She drew the lion key from her pack. She held it over the rune, matching its shape. The rune glowed, and one barrier around the pit dissolved with a soft hum. John smiled. He said, "One barrier down." Emma placed the flame key on its rune. The corresponding barrier melted away. John said, "Just one more, the unity key." Emma and John both placed the silver unity key on the last rune. The final barrier dropped, revealing a spiraling staircase down. John took a deep breath and began to descend. Emma followed closely. The air grew warmer as they went down. At the bottom they entered a massive room. In the center stood the ancient engine. It was a tall structure of metal and crystal. Glowing veins ran through it. John's eyes widened. He approached slowly. Emma stayed back, watching the shadows. John said, "This is it. We must connect the relic here." He set the relic on a pedestal before the engine. The relic's gem matched a socket on the pedestal. He fitted into place. Immediately, light spread through the engine. Crystals glowed, gears turned. A low vibration hummed through the floor. Emma watched with wonder. She said, "It still works after all these years." John knelt and connected holo projectors from his pack to the control panel. Glowing diagrams rose in the air. He explained, "The engine stores vast energy. We can take just enough for Earth and leave the rest. We need to calibrate the output." Emma studied the diagrams. She pointed at a slider labeled output. She asked, "How much do you need?" John thought. He said, "Enough to reverse the land decay on Earth for one region, about 10% of full capacity." Emma nodded. She helped adjust the controls. The engine's hum grew steadier. John pressed a final button. The engine pulsed. A beam of energy shot upward through a vent in the ceiling and out to space. An image of Earth appeared in the holo projector. John watched as lush green fields replaced dry deserts. Water returned to rivers. Life bloomed. Emma smiled softly. She said, "You have done it." John's chest rose with relief. He said, "We did it together. Thank you." Emma looked at him with respect. She said, "Your people will owe a debt to mine." John replied, "Let us hope this is the start of peace between our worlds." Suddenly, alarms echoed through the chamber. Red lights flashed. Emma drew her sword. John asked, "What now?" Emma said, "My rivals have found this place. They want the engine. For themselves, we must defend it." John stood and gripped his pistol. He aimed at the entrance. The massive doors at the far end of the room began to open. Shapes moved in the hallway beyond. Emma placed herself before the engine. She shouted, "You will not harm this power." Warriors poured into the room. They carried heavy weapons and wore dark armor. John fired his pistol, hitting 2 guards. Emma rushed forward, blade flashing. They fought back to back. Emma moved like a dancer. John covered her flanks, firing precise shots. 1 warrior fired. A blast that hit a crystal on the engine. The crystal cracked and sparks flew. Emma yelled, "Stop them! Protect the engine at all costs." John positioned himself between the engine and the warriors. He fired at approaching weapons, disabling their grips. Emma called out, "I need time to stabilize the crystal." John shouted back, "Go ahead, I'll hold them." Emma smiled grimly and ran to the broken crystal. She grabbed a tool from her belt and began to repair it. John fought fiercely. He dodged a strike and kicked a warrior aside. He felt fatigued but steeled himself. Emma worked quickly. Sparks flew from the crystal. She tightened bolts and sealed cracks. Finally, she slammed the tool down. The crystal glowed again, stronger than before. Emma shouted, "It's done! Now help me end this fight!" John charged forward. Emma ran beside him. Together they crashed into the enemy line. Their combined strength surprised the warriors. One by one, they fell or fled. Soon, silence returned to the chamber. John and Emma stood amid the fallen. Emma lowered her sword. She looked at John and nodded. John smiled. He said, "We protected the future for both our peoples." Emma said, "Now we must return. Your mission is complete." John looked at the engine. He said, "I will leave the engine running. Your people can maintain it." Emma placed a hand on the relic. She said, "And I will guard it. Peace begins here." Together they climbed the stairs back toward the surface, side by side, toward a new dawn for both worlds. John and Emma emerged from the spiral staircase into the pale sunlight again. The world above felt different now. They had changed. The relic lay safe in Emma's pack. The ruins behind them hummed quietly, as if resting. Emma scanned the horizon. Cliffs and canyons stretched for miles. She said, "We must return to my people. They will need to know the engine lives." John nodded. He brushed dust from his coat. He looked at Emma with respect. He said, "I owe you my life." Emma shrugged. She said, "We saved more than one life today. You saved mine too." They began the long walk back through the tunnels. John carried the holomap. Emma carried the relic, secure in its case. Along the way, they talked quietly. Emma told John stories of her world's history. She spoke of ancestors who first harnessed the engine. John shared memories of his sister and his home colony. John admitted, "I feared you at first, but now I am glad we met." Emma smiled softly. She said, "Fear makes us strong sometimes, but trust can be stronger." They reached the hidden cave. Emma tapped the wall twice. It opened. Inside, torches burned. Lo, the elders of Emma's people waited in a circle. Their armor shone in torchlight. They watched John and Emma enter. Emma bowed her head. John did the same. One elder stepped forward. He was tall with silver hair and stern eyes. He asked, "Huntress, is it true? Did you bring the relic and activate the engine?" Emma nodded. She handed him the relic's case. The elder opened it and saw the gem inside. He looked at John. He asked, "Traveler, why should we trust you?" John stood tall. He spoke with quiet strength. "I asked for help to save my people. In return, I promised only to take enough energy to heal Earth. I offered my word." He paused. "If you doubt me, I will return your relic and leave forever." The elders murmured among themselves. Emma watched. John felt tension rise. The tall elder placed the relic aside. He said, "Your words are honest, but words can be broken. Tell us what you saw below." John described the engine chamber, the ancient design, the power flow, and the attack by rivals. He spoke of Emma's courage in repairing the crystal. The elders listened in silence. When he finished, the tall elder asked, "And the relic's power, is it safe?" John nodded. He said, "The relic guided me. It showed me the keys. It did not force me. It can help heal or harm, but only with a user's intent." Another elder, shorter with bright eyes, spoke. "Then you have done what few could. You have shown honor and strength." She smiled at Emma and John. The tall elder turned to Emma. He said, "Huntress, you have risked your life for this outsider. What say you?" Emma raised her head. She spoke firmly. "He earned my trust in battle and truth. I choose to stand by his side as friend to our people." The elders nodded. The tall elder declared, "So it is done. The relic remains with us. The engine stands guarded, and the alliance is formed. We welcome you, John of Earth, as honored guest." John bowed again. He felt relief and joy. Outside the cave, Emma led John to a high cliff. Below, human ships hovered in sky-blue haze. Children waved from a distance. Their faces shone with hope. John whispered, "They came already?" Emma nodded. She said, "Your people answered the engine's call. They will bring supplies and help us protect the engine." John closed his eyes and smiled. He felt wind on his face. He thought of his sister's laughter and felt peace. Emma stood beside him. She said, "This is the new dawn. Together we will build a better future." John looked at Emma. He said, "Thank you, friend." Emma smiled. She said, "Thank you, traveler, for showing me that trust can bridge worlds." They stood side by side, watching the ships land, as two worlds joined by courage, sacrifice, and unity faced a brighter tomorrow.